Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Just Watch. Fun one today. I thought it would be really interesting to take a look at a couple of Seiko Turtles side by side. And what we're comparing is we're not comparing two new ones. We are comparing the original 6309-7040. This is my watch I think I purchased in 1986 and was a daily wear watch for 20 years, to the new reissue of it that has just come out in the last few years. Home run watch by Seiko. This one is the Pepsi dial version, or Pepsi Bezel, I should say, version, the SRP779J1. So, how do they compare? Actually, I think they're very, very close overall. You can see right off the bat the hour hands, the minute hands, and the index markers are very similar. They are both day date. They both retain the day date. They both have your 4 o'clock screw down crown that screws into the case back. So very similar there. They're both, let's see, we can put these on top of each other. I don't think the case profile changed at all. You can see that my original has some scuffs and scratches and marks on it, where this nice new 779 does not. And the bezel, the grippers on the bezel and the height of the bezel remains unchanged. See, comparing them side by side there, pretty much the same. The new one might be a tiny bit bigger, interestingly enough. And then what really jumps out at you as far as the difference on the dial goes is you can see the new version has a lot more signing than the original version. Not a lot going on there. Seiko at the 12 o'clock, and then your 150 meter, and then the new one you get your prospects, logo, automatic, divers 200 meter. This is of course 150 meter on the original 6309. The other difference too, and this is actually something that I'm interested in, I'd love to hear from Seiko, is why they did it. You can see the original has your lollipop with a loom out there at the end of the second hand where it's sweeping around, where the new, it's on the opposite end, so it's almost like a baton type of thing with just a plain hand going around. So I'm kind of interested to know why they did that too. And then you can see the markings on the bezel are very similar. On the inside, as far as your index markers go, this is the modern iteration of the Seiko Luma Bright, very bright, and you can see that those index markers are actually almost like a little bit puffy, I think is the way to describe it. They're not like flat painted on like the original 6309. You can see there's, those are very flat. Harlex crystal on both. So Harlex crystal, and you can see, take a look at that 6309, and keep in mind this is a 30-year-old watch that was a daily wear watch for 20 years. The aluminum inner bezel ring is a mess. It's a little beat up, but hey, I mean, 30 years, and you guys go back and watch my 30-year torture test video on this watch, where I kind of go over some of the things I did to it over the years. They're kind of definitely put it through the ringer. Your new, look how pretty that is with the Pepsi. The marking is about the same. The chapter ring's all the same. I don't know if I got lucky on this one or not. I've heard mixed reviews about, things not lining up correctly, your chapter rings and your index markers and your bezel. Everything lines up correctly on this one, so I'm happy about that. And then, your 4 o'clock crown remains the same, unsigned on both. One little difference that I found interesting, though, you can see the 6309, see how that case is cut away there, and you can kind of see the exposed crown, where the new, they didn't do that. See how much more material is back there? They both, if you look at it from the front, pretty identical. Those are some pretty identical cuts. A little bit more angle there. And the crown's almost, you wonder if it's new old stock that they're using to make the crown. The strap on the new is a silicone. It's very supple and soft. I think it's more supple than the strap that originally came on the Seiko ever was, but this is as close as I can find these days to the original Seiko strap. And actually, I think I'm going to run this back on a NATO. I did run this back in the day on a NATO for years and enjoyed it like that. So this strap's very plasticky feel. It's supposed to be a Seiko original, and it has a Seiko signing, back there with the wave. And I grabbed this on eBay. Everything is correct on it except for its plasticky feeling, and I don't know if that's because it's new, or I mean, you know, or new old stock or something. And the buckle's different. The original 6309 buckle was a little bit beefier than this, not quite as beefy as this one. You can see how this ankles out. It's really wide. It's a lot bigger than this, but it did have, you know, a signed Seiko, and I believe it wasn't polished. I think it was a matte finish on the original buckle. So slight difference there. As far as the mechanics of the watch go, the original 6309 is a bidirectional bezel, so it doesn't matter which way it wants to go. You can hear it too. It's 30 years later, it's still very, very smooth. It has just a nice feel to it. It's not too tight, not too loose. Very pronounced movement every time that clicks around. The new one, the 779, it's tighter. It's much tighter to turn. And I don't know if that's because it's new or if that's what they did. And it's also unidirectional. You can't come back. And the clicks are much finer than what they are on the new watch, on the old watch, I mean. And that might be just, you know, just to break in or what have you too. You still have your Lumibright pip at the 12 o'clock. Both watches share that. Case back on both is the same. You got your Tsunami logo. You can see the Tsunami logo on the new is a little bit smaller than the Tsunami logo on the old. Screw down case back looks pretty similar. And the back of the watch looks identical, like I said, except for that cutaway where the crown goes in. 4R36 movement too, that's the other big difference. They gave it a new kind of more modern, better movement than the original had. My original 6309, it is not a hack movement. You can see I pulled that all the way out and the watch is still running, so there is no hack movement there. And you know, set your date all the way out, or your date, your time all the way out. That's where your minute and second, where your minute hand adjustment is. And then if you go back in, come out half a click, that's where you can set your day or your date, this way clockwise, and then your date. And then this watch, I think it is, I'm not sure if that is in Latin, dom, or if that is French, lune, mar. So if somebody can, I'm not a linguist by any means, so if somebody can correct me on that, I would greatly appreciate it. I would love to know which that is. I'd always heard that they come in, that, you know, it was Latin. So that's what I'm sticking with. So your date there, like I said, no hack movement, and also no hand winding on this original. So the original 6309, you wanted to wind it, you got to do the old card shuffle movement. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that over the years where, you know, I've worn a different watch for a day or two or longer and come back and the watch isn't running, and just grab it like that, charge it up, get it running. So the new one, it's very similar feel with the crown. It is a hack movement. You can see once I pop that out, the second hand does stop right there. Everything's the same as far as the set. You set your time there all the way out. You go back in, come out a half a click, and then you can set your day. And the new one is in Arabic. The alternate language is Arabic, and also your date if you turn counterclockwise. It is one of the nice features too that I like about this is you do have the manual wind option. I think it's nice if you haven't worn the watch for a few days, and it, you know, or long enough that it has died, and you just want to charge it up. It's just super easy to you know, give it 10 or 20 winds, and then set it and forget it pretty much for as long as you're going to wear the watch. So the screw down's pretty much the same. Make sure whenever you're screwing down a crown that you don't screw too tight. You don't want to mash those seals. I actually did that once with my 6309. It developed the tiniest bit of a leak. Nothing got into the case, into the dial side of the case. I guess some moisture did get into the back, but that was corrected as soon as I found it. I sent it to Seiko, and they took care of it for me. That was probably 1991 or so where that happened. But anyways, you know, I think Seiko did a really nice job with these, with the reissue on these two watches. I think they're very similar. They both wear very similar. You can see the shapes on them. I think they did a really nice job with their reissue on these. So Seiko, congratulations, and anybody that owns one of these fabulous watches, congratulations as well. The 6309, the classic Seiko Turtle versus the 779, the J1 with the Pepsi bezel. Both great watches. Both watches will serve you well for a long time to come, and I know that people will enjoy them. So let's give you a quick look at what the watch looks like on the wrist too, just because I know people like seeing that as far as that goes. So it is a 45mm case back, or case, not case back. So it measures out 45mm, excluding the crown. Doesn't wear as big as that sounds. I have an under 7-inch wrist, so you can see how that looks there. And it is a tall watch, but it doesn't wear that way. You know, it's gonna, if you're wearing a fitted dress shirt, the cuff's probably gonna hang up on it. You know, you might want a different watch for that, unless you just don't care. So there's your new version, the 779, and then we'll give you a look at the 6309 right there. There's your 6309. Like I said, the strap on this is much more plastic. I definitely got to get it on a NATO. So there's your 6309. I said they wear exactly the same as far as the height, the feel, everything goes. 6309. So one other thing I noted too, I don't know if it's the strap or what have you, but I swear the new version's a little heavier. Maybe it's just the silicone strap's heavier than this plasticky feel older Seiko strap that I have on the 6309, but definitely just feeling them, switching them around. You can see, actually, you can see that new Lumibright already starting to glow right here. So definitely a little bit of a difference between the two. So anyways, everyone, thank you for checking that out. I just thought it would be kind of interesting to show everybody the difference between the 6309 and the new 779J1 Turtle reissue. Both fantastic watches. If you can find one of the old ones on eBay and you're a collector, especially if you're a Seiko collector, I highly recommend getting one. It's just one of those great historic pieces. They were only made for just over a decade, and they just have held up over time, as you can see with my 30-year-old version here. And then the 779J1, also just fantastic. They did a great job with this watch, and I'm very happy with the purchase. So everyone, thank you for checking everything out today. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up. Also, please leave me a comment on if any linguists are out there as far as what's going on with the day marker on the original 6309. That would be great to know. And also, if you like the content, please subscribe. I'll keep making these videos if you guys like it, and we'll go from there. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning into this episode. Seiko Turtle Comparison. Bye-bye.